Okay, you got it, Tom. Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, so the first thing we'll try to explain today is the title of the shir. In Hebrew, it's very simple. It says Asiyas Tanai b'Sefiras HaOmer, making a condition or a stipulation in Sefiras HaOmer. In the English version, it says Sani Kwanon in the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer. Based on my years of studying Latin, the way I understand it is that it means making an imperative stipulation or an important condition in the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer. For those who want to debate the Latin, we can discuss that at the end of the shir. Okay, so we're going to start with some of the halachas that will, before we get to Sefiras HaOmer exactly.
What did you say?
Sani Kwanon, to make some type of imperative condition or stipulation in the mitzvah.
Debate it after the shir.
Okay, here we go. Before we get to Sefiras HaOmer proper, we'll preface with another mitzvah that sometimes or often to make a Tanai on. So the Shulchan Aruch in Orach Chaim in source 1 in Siman Mem Vav, the end of Siman Mem Vav Sif Tes, brings down, discussing the halachas of Birchas HaTorah that we're familiar with every morning, the Birchas HaShachar, Birchas HaTorah, and then the Shulchan Aruch tells us that we should not say any psukim before we say Birchas HaTorah, and therefore it's appropriate to say Birchas HaTorah, towards the beginning of davening, as we all know, as the regular part of the Nusach HaSiddur. What we're going to focus on is the Ramah. The Ramah says that after we finish brachos, we say what we call karbanos or various short tefillos before we start the main psukah de Zimra. And there the Ramah says, "V'tov lomar b'shachris achar Shema Yisrael." It's appropriate to say in the morning after Shema Yisrael. Again, this is not the main Shema. We'll say later in Birchas Kriya Shema. This is the Shema we say as part of what we call karbanos. After you say Shema, you should say Baruch Shein Kvoid Machus L'Olam V'Oed. Says the Ramah, Ki L'Pa'amim. Because sometimes Shayin Im Kriya Shema L'Kreiso Shaloi B'Zman Av Yoytze B'Zeh. Sometimes maybe the chazan is going too long, or they started davening too late. Whatever the reason is, sometimes a person the tzibur will miss Zman Kriya Shema with the brachos. Meaning, when we say Birchas Kriya Shema after Zman Kriya Shema, for argument's sake, let's say Zman Kriya Shema is 9 o'clock. So sometimes it ends up that Kriya Shema will be stated with the brachos after 9 o'clock. So you want to make sure you yoytze the mitzvah of Kriya Shema properly. Bismana, so a person should say Shema Baruch Shem, and of course the poskim say at least the first parsha and preferably all three parshios in the morning, so that we've already covered our bases. So the Magen Avram over there, which is over here in source 2, says, what does it mean Ki L'Pa'amim? He basically speaks out what we just explained. But he says, Pirish Mishum de L'Pa'amim, because sometimes Shayin Hatzibor L'Chein Omer B'chol Pa, meaning it's not for certain shuls you can, they daven set with the clock. You know exactly, they start 8:30, 8:32, you know what they're up to, 8:35, you know what they're up to, 9:01, you know what they're up to. But certain shuls, depending on the chazan, it depends. Sometimes Keladin goes a little longer, sometimes Keladin goes a little shorter, so you don't know exactly how long it's going to be. However, says the Magen Avram, lo yechaven lotzeis elam kein yiresh hatzibur yavuz ban krishma. But, says the Magen Avram, don't have intention to fulfill your obligation unless you know that for sure the tzibur is going to be over zman krishma. Avol, however, Kishalo Yavru, if the tzibur is going to get to Kriya Shema before the Zman, then don't have in mind to be Yotza. Mutav Lotza is the Kriya Shema imat tzibur. It's better to be Yotza Kriya Shema later with the tzibur, V'likros osa kedineha, and you'll read it appropriately with the brachos, V'brachaiseha, V'lismach gulu tefillah. So the Magen Avram is just saying, although we're saying now, it's a good idea to have in mind before davening to be Yotza the mitzvah of Kriya Shema, because sometimes you'll go overboard, but if you know for sure, let's say Zman Kriya Shema is 9:30, 10 o'clock, so you have no problem, and you're starting davening 7:30. So you're going to make Zman Kriya Shema unless some big einus happens, but typically you'll make Zman Kriya Shema at that point. So then don't have in mind to fulfill your obligation of Kriya Shema, and have in mind to fulfill it at the appropriate time when you're saying the brachos. As a side note, the Vilna Gaon in the Bir HaGra over here, it's on the page, he argues on this Ramah, and he says you should not have in mind, you should not say it, unless for certain you're going to miss Zman Kriya Shema, but in a typical situation you should not even say Shema Yisrael as part of the morning. He says just say the end of the phrase Hashem Lakeinu Hashem Echad, because the Vilna Gaon is a shita that if you even say just the first phrase of Shema Yisrael Hashem Lakeinu Hashem Echad, you've already fulfilled your basic obligation, and then you're going to miss out doing it the best way later with the brachos. That's the opinion of Vilna Gaon. But what we're saying over here right now, what we're going to focus on is the Ramah and the Magen Avram, that when you say Shema in the beginning, or the Karbanos part of davening, if you know you're going to miss later, then you should have in mind to be Yoytze the mitzvah now, and if not, just say it, but don't have in mind to be Yoytze the mitzvah of Kriya Shema, so you'll get the best mitzvah later, saying it together with the brachos. Okay, comes along Rabbi Kiva Eger and says, well, Life isn't black and white. It's not always clear, am I for sure going to miss it, or am I for sure not going to miss it? Sometimes you're, playing your cards a little bit, you don't know. So you're not sure, because Zman Kriya Shema is 9:05. And you're starting davening 8:30, Shabbos morning. So it really could depend. If the Chazan goes Psukei Zimra a little bit quicker, and they don't sing Kelada, you'll make it. But if the Chazan says Psukei Zimra a little longer, or someone stretches out a cottage somewhere, and the Chazan sings a long Kelada, and you won't make it. So you're not sure. So what do? Do you have in mind to be to the Kriya Shema that you're going to say in Karbanos? Or should you play your risks and see if you'll make it or not? Says Rabbi Akiva Eiger, over there in source number 3, he's going on the Magen Avram, he says, Lanias Taiti, according to my opinion, Biyare, if someone's afraid, Shatzibor Yavor Zman Kriya Shema, you're afraid that the congregation will miss Zman Kriya Shema, Yechavein B'derech Tanai. So you can make a stipulation, you can make a condition in your intention, your kavanah. That what? Im Yavru, if they're going to miss Zman Kriya Shema, I'll fulfill my obligation now. I'm going to say the whole Kriya Shema now. And I'm going to make a stipulation that if I'm going to miss the Zman Kriya Shema later, with the tzibur, so I want to be yet with what I'm saying right now. Vim lo yavru, and if they're not going to miss Zman Kriya Shema, the Chazan will go quick enough that will make Zman Kriya Shema, then lo yotza bazeh, I don't want to fulfill my obligation with this. It should be just like that I'm saying words of Torah. It should be like I'm just learning Torah. It should not be I'm fulfilling my obligation. So Rabbi Akiva Eiger introduced to us a very basic idea. We make a stipulation. There's a condition here. I'm going to say Kriya Shema now, and I'm making a tanai, a stipulation. If we're going to make Zman Kriya Shema later, then what I'm saying now should just be like I'm reading the word psukim of the Torah, and if the congregation later on is going to miss Zman Kriya Shema, so I want to fulfill my obligation right now with what I'm saying. How do I know this, says Rabbi Akiva Eiger? How do I know such a halacha exists? Ends off Rabbi Akiva Eiger, K'moshe Kasav HaBeis Yosef, like the Beis Yosef writes in Siman Tov Pei Tes, the Inyan Sefiras HaOmer, like the Beis Yosef paskins for us by the halacha of Sefiras HaOmer, which we'll get to in a moment. But at this point, again, Rabbi Akiva Eiger is introducing to us by Kriya Shema. You can say Kriya Shema tonight, which many of us are familiar with this, maybe without knowing even all the background of it, but we know that if the shul is going to daven later, then we're going to miss Zman Kriya Shema, or we're often not sure if the shul makes Zman Kriya Shema or not, then you say Kriya Shema before davening on a tanai with this stipulation, like it's sourced by Sefiras HaOmer. Now, just to digress for 1 minute, the halacha of tanai, of making stipulations, has various ramifications and various, details of it that's discussed in the Gemara. We learn out, the Gemara explains from Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain, from those two Shvatim that approached Moshe Rabbeinu, and they wanted to live Be'evayah. They did not want to cross over into Eretz Yisrael, and they made a whole stipulation and a Tanai with Moshe Rabbeinu. They're going to come, of course, they'll help fight, and then they'll go back. They had a whole back and forth with Moshe Rabbeinu. The Gemara, in a couple places, discusses at length that there's a principle we learn from that parsha in the Torah called Tanai Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain. Every stipulation that we make has to mimic in a way that the Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain made their Tanai. And I'll just mention some of those principles are, you have to say the Hain Kodem Lalav. You have to say what you will do before what you won't do. There's a positive before the negative, or what you won't do. And it has to be a Tanai Kafel. You have to speak it out in a redundant way. And there's various explanations of each one. I'm just summing it up. And there are various, these, principles in Tanaim where you can't just say, I'll do it if it works out. You can't just be vague about the Tanai. It has to be very spoken out in a very specific and explicit way that you're covering every possible situation. And that's the principle called Tanai B'nei Gad B'nei Ruvain, and that's Kolole HaTanoim, various principles in the halacha of Tanai. So when Rabbi Akiva Eiger over here says you have to make a Tanai, what are we talking about? Are we talking about the big halachic principle of Tanai, which comes along with all its myriad of details, or it just means just think about it? So you have in source number 4 from the Siddur of what's called the Siddur Hagra. It was not written by the Vilna Gaon, it was written by the Talmidim of the Vilna Gaon. And there in Hilchas Kriya Shema, it's in parentheses where I marked it off, it says V'katzav HaGaon Rabbi Akiva Eiger. He quotes Rabbi Akiva Eiger, and then 2 lines down he says, after he finishes quoting it, it says V'yesh Oimrim. There are those that say B'shem HaGaon Mereino Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. Now we usually typically commonly referred to Rabbi Yisrael Salanter as the father of the Muslim movement, which of course he was, but he had many chidushim and halacha as well. Many of them are published, and it said, brought down here in the name of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, Zechatzav V'kosh Levracha, Diba'ina Dine Tanai. When Rabbi Akiva Eiger says you should do it b'derech Tanai, you need all the halachas of Tanaim. Hainu Tanai Kafel, you have to have an explicit, redundant Tanai, speaking out all the possibilities. V'hein Kodim Alav, you have to say the positive side before you say what the positive before you say the negative, and that's what he's quoted as saying. So Yisrael Salanter is paskening, and when we make this tonight by Kriya Shema, again, you have a situation where a person's not sure. If he knows for sure he's going to miss Zman Kriya Shema, then we have the Ramah, the Magen Avraham telling us, B'yotze Kriya Shema and Karbanos. If you know for sure you're going to fulfill Kriya Shema at the proper time with its brachos, so then we have the halacha clearly saying, don't fulfill your obligation before davening in Karbanos. Wait till Zman Kriya Shema, wait till you say Birchas Kriya Shema, and fulfill your obligation then. We have Reb Kiveger introducing us this concept of you're not sure, you don't know. Maybe you don't know exactly when Zman Kriya Shema is, or you're not sure if the Chazan will daven at the proper pace to make Zman Kriya Shema. So do it b'derech Tanai, make the stipulation. And Rabbi Yisrael Salanter is explaining that means you have to speak it out in a very explicit way. Let's just, for example, you would say, well, I'm going to say Kriya Shema now. I would like to fulfill my obligation with this Kriya Shema if I'm not going to make it later. If I do not make Zman Kriya Shema later, I want to make this Shema be appropriate. However, if I will make Zman Kriya Shema later, then I want this Kriya Shema that I'm saying now to be just like I'm reading Psukim the Torah. That would be basically, so it's kind of long-winded, basically that you're getting forth a whole, all the possibilities in your Nusach HaTanai. Yeah.
You just take a once in a lifetime stipulation.
Oh, okay, hold on. According to that's
every single day.
Every single day, it's be overwhelming, right? Okay, well, according to Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, you got to work on yourself every day. You need mussar every day. You got to make this tonight anytime you want to use it. That's what Rabbi Yisrael Salanter is saying. However, the Chazon Ish and others are quoted as passing again, not like this Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. This is we have to keep this in mind because we'll get back to this later. But the Chazon Ish, it's not in the Sefer Chazon Ish, but it's printed from the Talmidim of the Chazon Ish that the Chazon Ish said no. Over here for this Tanai, you do not need to make the Tanai in the way of Hilchas Tanaim, in the way of making a Tanai like you do in business transactions. Chazon Ish is quoted as saying that is only necessary when you're dealing between man and fellow man. There, you have to speak out all the possibilities of the stipulation because it has to be very clear about what you're putting in, what's the stipulation, what's the condition you're putting in. But, says the Chazon Ish, when it's between Adam L'Makayim, when it's between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you make the basic Tanai. If I'm going to miss Zman Kriya Shema, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, can fill in the blanks. He knows what you mean, you know what you mean, hopefully, and you could say Zman Kriya Shema b'Tanai. That's the Chazon Ish holds. So again, according to Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, the Tanai here will be more long-winded. It's more like a regular halacha of Tanai like we have in other business transactions. According to the Chazon Ish and others, this Tanai could be in a more short-handed way, in a more terse fashion. Just say, I'm making a condition. If I'm going to miss Zman Kriya Shema, I want to be yaitzu with this. Now, whether or not you have to actually utter it with your mouth, it's just a din and amira, or I can just think it, that's another discussion. Many poskim say that I can just think about it, but we're not going to go there right now.
Why do we even have that Krishma in the beginning?
Okay, fine. Well, it's seemingly, it really was not instituted to be Yaitze Kriya Shema with. It's part of the Nusach. We're talking about how Klal Yisrael prays HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's part of the, tefillah that we're saying, tefillah kodim at-tefillah it's called. It's kind of prepping us to get ready for davening. Once it's ready there, so then where's the Ramah and the Magen Avraham are saying, well, it could be beneficial in case you are going to miss Zman Kriya Shema.
So
okay.
if you know that they're going to make Zman Kriya Shema, so you really should not say it at all.
Well, like we said, according to Ramah and the Magen Avraham, just say it, but have in mind not to be Yaitze Kriya Shema. According to the Vilna Gaon, that's brought down in Ma'aser Rav, he would be careful not to say Shema, the whole pasuk of Shema. Then he would just say, we say. The Nusach of there, right? Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Just call out that
he's talking about
phrase.
the pasuk of Kriya of Shema, or he's talking about the Baruch Shem Kavod, because he seems to be saying that
right.
on the Baruch Shem Kavod.
The Ramah is adding Baruch Shem, so you could be Yaitze Kriya Shema and also say V'hafta the place we speak out.
So the pasuk of Shema Yisrael as well.
Yeah.
Well, just on the day of my bar mitzvah, can I make a tanoi for my whole lifetime?
Okay, so according to some poskim, if you go with the Chazon Ish, perhaps that could work. If you go like Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, l'chayra, since he's putting it like a regular halacha of Tanai, that's in other places in halacha, that has to be spoken on every single time. You can't just work on a basic assumption that once I made a stipulation, it could work for everyone. But if you go with the Chazon Ish, that this is just since it's between man and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you could just say once, seemingly, that would be sufficient. Now, just to broaden this topic for a second, but I don't want to discuss it too much, this concept of making a Tanai and mitzvahs comes up in other halachas as well. We'll get to Sefiras HaOmer in a moment. We said so far about Kriya Shema, it's applicable to tefillin as well in two places. For those people where tefillin on Chol HaMoed, So there are those poskim that say you shouldn't wear tefillin l'chol moed. Some poskim say you do wear tefillin l'chol moed. So some people make a bracha, some people don't make a bracha on tefillin l'chol moed. So some people say, well, if you do make a bracha, you do put on tefillin, you should al tanai, whether I'm going to be yaitz to the mitzvah or not, or whether I'm just putting on. So this tanai comes in over there as well. There are those people who wear tefillin the Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam at the same time. You don't see it so commonly here in America, but in Eretz Yisrael, many Sfardim, they put on two pairs of tefillin at the same time, and the ritzuos are overlapping one another. You don't have enough room to put all the ritzuos spread out. So now the halach is that they're not chaytzitz, but in case those are not tefillin, so you make a tanai as well over there that I want to be yaitza only with the tefillin that are ikar the mitzvah. The other ones I just want to be as if they're not there. There's another halacha that the pais can deal with. Let's say there's this, I think the case was like there was like an old shul that had only one old Sefer Torah, and they were constantly finding, unfortunately, mistakes or things that needed to be fixed up in the Sefer Torah. It was getting old, so but that's the only one they had. So the Rav of the shul thought of an idea that he wanted to, that because if you get up there and make a bracha, and then it ends up being a apostle Sefer Torah, you might have potentially made a bracha levatala. So he writes a letter to the Rav who wrote a sefer called Machsa Avram, a Tshuva sefer. He said he wanted to know if he can make up a new Tanai. He wanted to make Birchas HaTorah in the morning when he davens from his siddur. He'll say Birchas HaTorah, and he has in mind he wants to make a Tanai. It should only be Chal until I get the Aliyah, until they read from the Sefer Torah in Shul. When they bring out the Sefer Torah, I want my Birchas Torah to stop. And then I'll make a new Asher Bachar Banu. I get the Aliyah, and I'll have in mind that, listen, either I'm being now the bracha of the Birchas HaTorah that I have to make every day, or this is go for the Aliyah, or maybe it can even go for both. Again, it's just an idea. I'm just broadening the topic. There's many cases of where Tanai, where the post can discuss if you can make a stipulation, a mitzvah, and how it works. Now let's get a little focused on Sefiras HaOmer. So the Beis Yosef in source number 5 over here in Hilchas Sefiras HaOmer brings down from the Avudraham as follows. Kasav Harav Rabbeinu David Avudraham. He brings the name of the Sefer Machzor Vitri, who was a Talmud of Rashi. He says as follows: Hamispal lemat tzibur. If someone is davening Ma'ariv with the tzibur, with the congregation, mi ba'od yoyim. For now, we're going to translate mi ba'od yoyim as from part of the day. We'll see exactly what part of the day he's davening, but it's definitely not after Tzeis HaKarchavim. It's not after the stars come out. Moina imahem b'loy bracha. So the shul is going to say sphere with the bracha at that point. We'll see exactly again what time it is, but we'll say at X for now. At X time, the shul is going to count sphere with the bracha. Everyone agrees that the best time to count sphere with the bracha is after Tzeis HaKarchavim, after the stars come out. But he's afraid that, and the shul is doing it to count it then because they don't want to just daven Ma'ariv without saying sphere because everyone's going to forget to count sphere. So they want to rely on the opinions that you could count sphere earlier. But this guy says, listen, I don't want to count Sefiras now. I want to count Sefiras later, like I'm supposed to. But I'm afraid I'm going to get busy with other things. I'm going to forget. I'm going to forget the whole next day. So he wants to do as follows. Meimar Omar, this is the end of the first line in source 5. Meimar Omar, he wants to say, Im eskar belayla bebeisi. I'm sorry, I skipped a couple words before that. Moina imam b'loy bracha. So the Avudraham says, as an individual, I can opt out of what the tzibur is doing again. The tzibur, the whole congregation is counting Sefiras early with the bracha. I, as an individual, could opt out and say, listen, I'm going to count now. Let's say tonight's going to be 15. So I'm going to count 15 now without a bracha. But I'm going to say, Hayayim, Chamisha, so I'm going to say today's the 15th day, etc. But I'm going to make a stipulation and say as follows. Meimar Omer, I will say, Im eskar b'layla b'beisi. If I remember later when I'm at home at night, Achzar ve'avarech kedin. I'll go ahead, I'll make a bracha, and I'll count again, appropriately. V'nimtza shloi b'rachti levatal. And it won't be that I'm making a bracha levatal again, because if I count now, if I say it without making the stipulation, and I don't make a bracha, we all know the halacha, that once you say the number of the night, that's it, you lost a bracha for that night, right? If someone asks you what tonight is, and it's already nighttime, you shouldn't say tonight is 15, if that night is the 15th, right? That's what we all know the minhag is. We say last night was this, so that we can still count with the bracha. So he wants to cover his tracks. He says, listen, I'm counting now at a zman where it's a suffix if it could be yaitza or not. I want to get the best of both worlds. I want to be able to remember to count later with the bracha, but I want to have a backup insurance policy in case I forget. I'll still be to the mitzvah. So I'm going to count now. I'm going to say tonight is 15 without a bracha, and then after 8:30, after 9 o'clock, whatever it's going to be, after it's Tzeis HaKarchavim, I'll take out my siddur, I'll make a bracha and count again the 15th. Avudraham says that works. That's a tanai. I can make a stipulation, and this is the halacha that Rabbi Kiva was quoting before. When Kivega introduced us the concept that you can say Kriya Shema Tanai as well, just like you see by Sefiras HaOmer. This halacha is gepaskin in Shulchan Aruch in source number 6. The Shulchan Aruch over there in Hilchos Sefiras HaOmer, Sif Gimel, just read the Shulchan Aruch with a bolder print. Hamispal l'matzibor, someone who davens with the congregation. Mi ba'oid yayim. Again, we didn't define what that means. Moina imam b'loy bracha. You count with them without a blessing. V'im yiskar b'layla yivarach v'yispar. If you remember later on, you count with the bracha and count again. But if you forget, so you don't lose your opportunity the next night to say a bracha. The next night, since you made a stipulation, let's say you said it was the 15th, so the next night when it's going to be the 16th, you can count with the bracha because you counted yesterday on a condition with this stipulation. Now, comes along the Mishnah Berurah on the next page in source number 7. The Mishnah Berurah is going to guide us in what it means mi ba'od yom. Now, this is really a big machlokes on the page of the Shulchan Aruch with the Magen Avraham and the Taz and Vilna Gaon. They're all weighing in on what exactly it means mi ba'od yom. But we're going to go now with what the Mishnah Berurah says. The Mishnah Berurah says, Mi ba'od yom, yesh me'achronim, there are those that say, shepershu dahainu bein hashmoshes, dahainu safek laila. So let's just say, for argument's sake, say that Shkia is at 7:30. So, again, for argument's sake, let's say bein hashmoshes goes for 20 minutes. Okay? Let's just accept that for now. So you dive a Ma'ariv at 7:30. You get up to Sefiras HaOmer at 7:40, 7:45. Still before, still in the time frame of Bein Hashmoshes. So it's 10-15 minutes after Shkia. So now, again, the tzibur is going to count down with the bracha because they're going to rely on the opinion that once it's after Bein Hashmoshes, or maybe even after Plag HaMincha, according to some, b'shas hatzchak, you can count with the bracha because we hold, according to many poskim, that Sefira is only midrabanan. So the tzibur is going to do that. But you, again, want to fulfill the chatchila, so you're going to wait till after it says to count with the bracha. So again, just the Mishnah continues, V'yaitin azidei sfira la paiskim l'sfiru l'sfir b'zman hazeh d'Rabbanan, and you're going to fulfill your obligation according to the majority of opinions that hold sfir b'zman hazeh d'Rabbanan. Achein, however, who writes to the daktek for lispar matesek kachavim? But he wants to fulfill the mitzvah properly and count from matesek kachavim. So again, one more time, this guy is davening at the Shkia Ma'ariv minyan like we have downstairs and many other shuls have. You're davening Ma'ariv at Shkia. By the time you're finishing Shemona Esrei and you're getting up to Sefira, it depends what shul you're in, but many shuls will count with the bracha at that point. That's usually only in Bein Hashmoshes, unless you had a really long Shemona Esrei, a really long Ma'ariv. You're not going to be after Tzeisak Achavim. You're probably going to still be in the Zman of Bein Hashmoshes. So it's a machlokes if you can count that or not. The tzibur is going to count with the bracha to be yotze according to those opinions. You want to fulfill your obligation to the best way, so you'll count now without a bracha and make a stipulation, the insurance policy, that if I remember later, I'll count with the bracha. Now, let's raise, there are two main questions, or that the poskim deal with over here with how this Tanai works. We already mentioned before that there was a fundamental machlokes achronim, and we said it b'shem Rabbi Saul Salanter and the Chazoin Ish, how this Tanai works in general. Do you have it like it's regular dinei Tanaim, or is it just once it's between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you don't have to get involved in all the nitty-gritty details of Tanaim, of stipulations? The achronim ask a different question. There's a sugya, another sugya in the Gemara called Breira. Breira means that I want to do something now, but it's not clear, it's vague in what my action is, and it will come clear afterwards, after certain conditions are met, so I want to make it work retroactively. For example, it's coming close to Shabbos, and I live in an area where, it's sparsely populated, so I need to make it, if I want to walk around on Shabbos, I need to make, past my 2,000 amos, I need to make an erev techumen. I need to do something that's going to extend my boundary for Shabbos. I put out a little box of matzahs and peanut butter, some food items I can make. We're not going to go through the halachas now, erev techumen. That's the basic idea. You put out some food, 2,000 amos away, that's kaina, that gets you a shavisa, a new resting place, and you have an extension to walk on Shabbos. Now, the halach is you can only make erev techumen in one direction. I mean, I can't make erev techumen that'll give me an extra perimeter of 2,000 amos in any north, east, south, and west. I have to choose. I want to go visit my Rebbe on Shabbos. He lives to the north of me, so I'll make my erev techumen to go north before Shabbos. Let's say I'm in doubt before Shabbos. I have two Rebbeim. I have one Rebbe lives in the north. I have one Rebbe lives in the south. Now, who am I going to choose to visit Shabbos after? I'm not sure yet. So I want to make two eruv techumen before Shabbos. I'll put one to the north. I'll put one to the south, and I'll make a stipulation. I'll make a Tanai. If I decide Shabbos morning to go visit my Rebbe to the north, I want that erev techumen to be my erev. If I want to go visit my Rebbe to the south, I want that erev to be an erev. Now, although it sounds like a Tanai, the Gemara calls that what we call breira. because I'm doing a Maisa now that it's going to be Muvra, it's going to be Huvra, it's going to come clarified later what exactly I did. It's not clear. On Friday afternoon, it's not clear what I did. I just did 2 random actions. I'm going to decide later, and that decision later is going to now solidify the action I did previously. It's similar to a Tanai, but it's different. But the bottom line we're going to bring out from here right now is that this sugya of Breira is a massive machlokes rishonim. If it could work for Daraisas, Darabanans, or it can't. Many poskim say it does not work for Daraisas, but it works for Darabanan. Many poskim say it works for Daraisa, but it doesn't work for Darabanan. I mean, it works for Daraisa and it also works for Darabanan. You have every permutation of machlokes that could possibly be exist by the sugya of Breira. That's why many times in yeshiva, they just tell you Hatzlacha Rabbah. For a synopsis of Breira, you look in Encyclopedia Talmudis in the 4th volume under Breira, and you have pages and pages of all the opinions. Bottom line is, we always do whatever we can to avoid the shaila of Breira, of doing an action now that only becomes clarified later because of the massive machlokes rishonim. Even though the Shulchan Aruch paskins one way in Yeridea, but even after the Shulchan Aruch paskins, the debate still continues. So we do whatever we can to avoid Breira. So many achronim ask, how does this a Tanai and mitzvahs work? A Tanai and mitzvah. Now again, Breira doesn't interplay when it comes to Choshen Mishpah, when it comes to dealing business transactions. So there, a Tanai, we call it only a Tanai. But when you're out of the realm of business transactions, when you're in, let's say here, the guard of Mitzvah, or we spoke about the case Erev Techumen, there this principle of Breira kicks in. So the Paiskim are bothered, we always try to avoid Breira, that whole question, because it's such a big machlokes, and there's so many different sugyas that seemingly go different ways, so we want to avoid it. So why over here is a Shulchan Aruch paskening, like the Avud Raham, and Ricky Veger saying it by Kriyishma, and the other we spoke at other cases, discuss it. Why are they all ignoring the sugya of Breira? Why don't they get involved here in that we should raise a red flag, we should raise the alarm, we shouldn't do this, because they're getting involved in machlokes of whether or not we say Breira or not. So one Yisai just want to speak out, which is from Shlomo Kluger in the Chuvas Elef L'Chas Shleima. He has various ways to avoid this question, but one idea he says is a fundamental point, an idea of Breira and Tanai. He says like this. I didn't put it down on the paper, I'm just going to speak it out. The machlokes of whether we say Breira or don't say Breira is only in a dover that's totally in a Maisa. I have to do a specific physical act that my action is going to solidify a physical act that I did. However, says Rav Shlomo Kluger, if it's here, it's just totally my machshava. It's not going to relate to anything physical that I did. It's only a dibur, and it's only a kavana process that I had in the kriyishma. Which kriyishma I want to be yaitza, says Rav Shlomo Kluger, their Breira doesn't kick in. The way I understood this, and it doesn't say these exact words, but the way I understood it is that I don't need a chalois. I don't need how you translate chalois? Chalois. Yeah, happening. I don't need the happening to happen in my Sefiras HaOmer, my Kriya Shema. I said this Kriya Shema or the Sefiras HaOmer, and I made the stipulation. What happens later, when I do say it or don't say it later with the right kavanah, is not making a chalois in what I did previously. That's klapi shmaya galia. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides which one's my real Kriya Shema. I don't need to get involved. My maisa is not defining. Is not making a chalois. There's no maisa here that needs a chalois. I'm trying to say this again. According to Rav Shlomo Kluger, when the whole thing is only totally ba'amira and it's not going back, it's not relating to decide a physical thing. Which one is my erev? Is that my erev? Is that my erev? There we get involved in the shaila of Breira. Here, which Kriya Shema was the right one? What's the difference? That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's cheshbon. I don't have to come out and say, I'm going that way, therefore that was really the one I had intention for the whole time. Let's say I said, I made this tonight with Kriya Shema, and then I just kept davening. And I have no idea at the end of the day if I made Zman Kriya Shema, I didn't make Zman Kriya Shema. So you can tell me I'm not Yaitza, I didn't fulfill my obligation? Of course I fulfilled my obligation. I don't have to know the end result to know whether or not I finished, whether or not I fulfilled my obligation or not. My Sefiras HaOmer. I don't have to know, I know if I counted or not, but the point is, I don't have to know if the Tanai worked or didn't work. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's cheshbon, so to speak, and the person was saying that Tanai works. By Breira, where we have to solidify on this particular Maisa, that's a machlokes and we avoid it. Over here, the Rav Shlomo Kluger is saying you don't have to get involved in Breira. That's one issue the person can deal with. One more quick issue before we move on. That the Tzvi Pesach Frank in the Sefer Mikroi Kodesh brings in the name of Rav Shimon Shkop the following shaila. There's another principle in Tanai we didn't discuss till now called Milsa de Lesa B'Shlichos Lesa B'Tanai. If I can't make an agent, a shliach, to do this for me, I can't make a stipulation it. The Gemara discusses by halacha of chalitza. By chalitza, I can't. I can't. It's a mitzvah shebagufay, right? And I can't make a shliach to do it. The woman herself and the brother-in-law have to do it. The brother-in-law can't send an agent. The woman can't send an agent to do it. It's not like a get or a kedushin. those two people are the main parties involved. They have to want to do it. The Gemara says a principle: if it can't be done with a shliach, then you can't make a stipulation. The way the poskim understand it, at least I understand the way the poskim are explaining it, is because if I cannot make a shliach to do it, that's muchach that I'm not a full bailam on the dover. If I am completely in control of something, a man wants to divorce his wife. He's completely in control of the ability to do that. So he can go ahead and make a shliach to do that for him. So it's something that's isa b'shlichus, it's also isa b'tanai. Therefore a man can make a stipulation if he wants to send a get to his wife with any condition he wants to send it with, whatever. There's certain halachas that you could or can't say, but that's in Hilchos Gittin. But in the fact that you could make a stipulation, that exists because I could do a shliach for it. Over here the poskim ask, I can't have you count Sefiras HaOmer for me. You can't be my shliach and say Kriya Shema for me. It's a mitzvah shebagufay. I myself have to do it. If it's a mitzvah shebagufay, asked Rav Shimon Shkop, how can you say that tonight works? Milsa the less of a shlichus, less of a tonight. If I can't have a shliach do it for me, I can't make a stipulation because it shows that it's not really within my dominion. So just to say it quickly, the Tzvi Pesach answers based on a Ramban and Baba Basra. The Ramban and Baba Basra says that by a nazir, a person who accepts upon himself a vow, he could make a tanai with certain conditions. Says Ramban, why? I can't make a shliach to make a tanai, to make a neder of a nazir that he promises to be a nazir. So why does it work that I can make a stipulation? Says the Ramban, because when do we say that you cannot make a stipulation if I can't do it with shlichus? That's only when I'm doing it between me and my fellow man. Or between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, b'chol inyan have it tonight. So Tzvi Pesach is bringing from this Ramban, by Nazir at least, that you see that since the Nazir's neder is between him and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can make it tonight even though there is no inyan of shlichus. That sounds very similar to what we spoke about before from the Chazon Ish when it comes to this halacha of making a Tanai in Krishma or making a Tanai in Sefiras HaOmer. You don't need the Dinei Tanaim. Although we have, again, numerous places the Gemara discusses all the various halachas of Tanaim. It has to mimic Tanai B'nei Gad B'nei Ruvain. Has this other principle of Milsa the Isa B'Shlichas Isa B'Tanai that you have to have the ability to make a Shliach to carry out for you if you want to be able to make a stipulation. Says the Ramban that what Tzvi Pesach is bringing, that's only in a Tanai and a stipulation they make between you and HaKadosh. Between you and fellow man, then I need to have all the halachas of Tanaim and also this stipulation that it has to be Isa b'shlichus, has to have the ability to make a shliach to do it. However, any type of stipulation I'm making in a mitzvah completely between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then I'm not bound by any of the gedarim of Tanai. So it seems like from here as well that Tzvi Pesach Frank would pass like the Chazon Ish when it comes to making Tanai in Kriyashma or making a Tanai in Sefiras HaOmer. I don't have to have all the various halachas of Tanaim of saying it Hein Kodim Alav and Tanai Kafel.
So it's not like Rabbi Shlomo.
Correct. Okay, now comes the exciting part. Here we go. The whole reason why I said this year was just to get to the following shayla. Okay, like this. There's another halacha in Sefiras HaOmer we're going to introduce now in source number 8. The Ramah says in Hilchos Sefiras HaOmer, right over here in source 8, Ukishegia Hazman Asurum Lachalat Yispar. When the time comes to count Sefiras HaOmer, you're not allowed to eat until you do the mitzvah. This is a halacha that's by many mitzvahs. When the time for mitzvah comes, you have to starve till you do the mitzvah. But the point of that is that we're afraid if you're going to get involved in the Suda, you're going to start eating, you get carried away, you're going to forget to do the mitzvah. Great. Says the Mishnah Berurah in source 9, when is that? Ukishagia Hazman, says the Mishnah Berurah in Sifkan Chav Gimel, Ratzalai Mitzeis HaKechavim. So at nightfall, which is the Zman for Sefiras HaOmer, that's the most appropriate time to count it. So let's just say, for argument's sake, nightfall is 8:30. Times 8:30, you can't eat until you count Sefiras HaOmer. Now let's say you have a set minyan for Ma'ariv and all that. Okay, fine, that's one way out of it. Now really the halacha is also even a little bit before that, a half hour before that you shouldn't eat because we're afraid you're going to get involved in the Suda, you're going to have a good steak dinner with some good wine, and you're also going to forget. But okay, for now we're going to focus, the halacha is that once it's time to do the mitzvah, you can't eat. So asks Rabbi Avram Ganachovsky, Zechatzak Levrach, Rashiv of Shabin, he asked the following dilemma. Let's say a person counts al Tanai. He's davening in the shul that's davening Ma'ariv early bein hashmoshes. So they're davening Ma'ariv at 7:30, whatever, right after Shkia. He wants to do like the Shulchan Aruch, Paskin, the name of Avu Draham, and wants to count later after Tzeis HaKechavim. So what's he going to do? He'll say, listen, I'll count now without a bracha, like the Shulchan Aruch says. Tonight's tonight's the 15th night of Sefira, and I'll make it tonight. I'll have in mind that later on, after nightfall, after 8:30, I'll count with a bracha. So what does he do? He davens Ma'ariv at 7:30. He says Sefira at 7:42. He goes home and sits down to a delicious supper. Great. Now he finishes his dinner, and he wants to count Sfira with the bracha. Says Rav Ron Ganachovsky, hold on one second. If you're going to count Sfira now with the bracha, so what does that show? That your Sfira that you did after Ben Hashmashis, at 7:42 when you counted, was nothing. Your real Sfira is going to be now. If your real Sfira is going to be now, that means you just ate a dinner that was illegal. You were not allowed to eat dinner at that point because you didn't count the mitzvah, do the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer yet. Again, you did Sfira early Ben Hashmashis at 7:40ish, right? During Ben Hashmashis. With the Tanai, that you'll remember later you'll count with the bracha. You went home, and after a long day of work, you finally sat down to eat dinner. Great. Then you remember, you have a nice long dinner, and you remember you got to count Sfira. Baruch Hashem, you remembered. Ask Rav Ron Ganachovsky, one second, you're in a catch-22 now. You want to get the mitzvah l'chatchila, but by getting the mitzvah l'chatchila of counting Sfira with the bracha, you're going to be l'mafreya, retroactively, you're going to have transgressed an avera of eating before this man of Sefiras HaOmer.
But you were protected because if you forgot to make the bracha,
okay,
then you were yoyze by
okay.
provisional.
So, fine. So Rabbi Yael is saying that your insurance policy should cover you for that. The insurance policy you can't, but keep in mind for a minute. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. But I'm going to point out it's not so simple because when I'm going to count now, what am I saying is that what I did before was nothing. It's like it was my never. It never existed. It's not like I had it. Right? Once I count later, so what I did earlier was non-existent. Right. So now what I'm making that I just counted Sfira with the bracha, but I just ate dinner, and that was illegal.
But the whole purpose of not eating is to make sure you count. There's not a mitzvah of not eating, and another mitzvah is Sfira.
Okay, now I think this is very exciting. Right, this is okay. So hold on. Right, that's a good point. Right, so you took care of it. But okay, let's say in a regular case, let's say a guy didn't make the stipulation. Let's just say a guy was at a long day at work. He was so tired, he went straight home, and it was ready after. It was 9 o'clock at night. He finally sat down. He forgot about this halacha, and he sat down and ate dinner. And after dinner, he remembered, I forgot to have my count Sfira. He did it. You don't say l'mafreya. He wasn't over the avera of eating before Sfira. He did that wrong. Of Baruch Hashem, he remembered to count Sfira. It's true he remembered to count Sfira, but he still did the wrong thing by eating supper first. Right?
No harm, no foul.
He's a total ones.
Why is he an ones?
Because he forgot.
Okay, fine. So that's an avera b'onis maybe. When we say, you have avera, you did b'onis and mishagig. Okay, you have to have in mind for that. But meaning, it's true. You ended up. It's good. You counted Sfira with the bracha. That's great. You got the mitzvah, but you have to also keep in mind that you acted inappropriately by the fact that you ate supper first.
The entire purpose.
Okay, hold on. Okay, hold your thought. We got to finish up. Hold on. So, in a similar vein, this idea that the dilemma of being stuck in a situation where I have a mitzvah to do, and I should do it, but if I do it, it's going to cause an avera l'mafreya. So there's a Rekiv Eger and Chulin with a similar idea, similar suffix. Rekiv Eger, it's a couple lines, but it's loaded. Rekiv Eger says as follows in source 10. Mesupek ani, I'm in doubt. Im shachat shlomim. Excuse me. If a person's by the Beis Hamikdash and he offers a carbon shlomim, v'lo zarak dam, and they didn't do this zrika, they didn't sprinkle the blood on the mizbeach. And then afterwards, in this in between time of the shechita before the zrika, shachat b'noi chulin. The son, the offspring of that animal, that was the mother animal that was brought, and the offspring of that animal was shechted as chulin somewhere out in Tveria. You know that they shechted the offspring of that animal. Now there's a avera in the Torah. A mother and an offspring of sacrifice cannot be, a mother and an offspring of an animal cannot be slaughtered on the same day. You cannot slaughter a mother and child on the same day. That's the mitzvah. So again, the mother was shechted as a carbon shlamim and did not do the zrika yet. So it was shechted, the zrika wasn't done yet. Meanwhile, the child of this mother cow, whatever it was shechted somewhere else for chulin. Im Myrin says with Kiveger, I'm in doubt if we paskin from now shlo yizrik hadam. Perhaps we should tell him not to sprinkle the dam. Because the halacha is that if you don't sprinkle the dam, the shechita of that animal is psula. And by the halacha, according to Reb Shimon, the Gemara, that's what he's coming off over there. The halacha is, according to Reb Shimon, if you have a puzzle to shechita, if the shechita is not kosher, then you could shech the mother and the child on one day. That's according to Reb Shimon. So ask Reb Kiva Eger, so maybe I should tell the kohen now in the Beis Hamikdash, don't sprinkle the blood. Kidei shlo yavar halav. If you don't sprinkle the blood, then you're going to avoid that there was a prohibition transgressed here. Again, someone shechted the child as for chulin. If the kohen is going to go ahead now and zrika the dam and spritz the blood, it's going to cause that there was a vaver transgressed. Or maybe he'll tell me, says Rabbi Kiveger, the Ma'aser right now is a mitzvah to sprinkle the blood, a carbon shlomim. You can't just walk away from it, you shecht it, you got to sprinkle it. Right now there's a mitzvah say. Rakim yasa say, but you're in a dilemma, because if you do the asay, yava love mafreya alav, it's going to cause the lav to happen. It's arachin. So Kiveger is misupik in this concept. If sometimes a person's caught in a dilemma where there's a mitzvah to be done right now, if I do the mitzvah, it's going to cause an avera retroactively. So what do you tell the guy to do? He's caught in a catch-22 situation. In a similar vein, there's another case, I don't run out of time, but the Rashba in Gittin has a halacha. If a person gives his wife a get al tanai, here, Sprinza, here's your get, al tanai that you never eat matzah for the rest of your life. Whatever, that's his Meshiggah tonight. So the get is chal, fine, she's divorced. She goes ahead and gets remarried. Now comes Pesach. What's she supposed to do? She has a mitzvah asay to eat matzah, but if she eats matzah, that's going to cause retroactively her get to be null and void. Then she's a Eishes Ish that's married. Maybe she has kids, whatever it is. That's a big dilemma. What do? The Rashba says she should not eat matzah. She should avoid the asay of the positive commandment of eating matzah on Pesach in order that her get remains kayam. So says Rav Ganachovsky, it seems from here, from that Rashba, that you should not do a mitzvah if it's going to cause an aver lemafreya. This woman now is stuck. She can't eat matzah on Pesach because it's going to cause her get to become null and void. So too, back to Sefiras HaOmer, perhaps we'll say that he should not count with the bracha now, because if he counts with the bracha now, it's going to make his supper being done by avera. However, Rav Doiv Landa Shlita, Rosh Shiva and Slabotka, in the Sefer Zecher Davar, he's matcha this raya from the Rashba. He says maybe by a raya it's more chomer, by Eishes Ish, because they were dealing with a married woman, so you can't bring a raya from here to every other case. But at least there's something to think about. You see other cases in halacha that we tell you don't do the asay in order to avoid an avera. To get back to what Rabbi El said before, you might argue and say that maybe the whole idea of counting by Ben Hashmashas without a bracha was an insurance policy. It was like a shomer. It was like similar to what also Neil was saying. It's going to protect you that you fulfill the mitzvah in case you forget later. So that's like a protection. It should work for your benefit. It should never come back to haunt you. However, there's a problem with that, because we have a Gemara as follows. The Gemara in Pesachim, in the middle, in source 11, discussing the sugya of Kiddush Makom Suda, says, I'm going to read it quickly, Rabba holds, Ein Kiddush Ela Makom Suda. Abaya says, how do we know this? How do we know that Rabba is also of the opinion, Ein Kiddush Makom Suda? Because Abaya says, Ki Havina Beibar, when I was by my Rebbe's house, Rabba's house, Ki Havim Mekala, she would make Kiddush Friday night. Omar Lon, he would tell us, to Talmidim, to eat something in my house, Dilma, because perhaps, Ada Aziltu L'Ushpiza, when you go back to your host, to where you're staying, Mis'aka L'Chushraga, your candles already be out, they had a long walk home, wherever it was, you're not going to be able to make Kiddush in a dark home. So at least eat something now. So I'll be yaitz Kiddush. And therefore you don't have to worry when you get back home you won't be able to make Kiddush. Okay, and the Gemara gets into a discussion about Kiddush Malkum Suda. So in source number 12 is going to sum it up quickly. The Tzlach says, how did that work? The end of the Tzlach, where it's underlined, source 12 says, Nira, he's coming to answer a question, but we'll just focus on what we're eating right now. He says that the whole Rabbi was telling him to make it tonight, to make a stipulation. You'll listen to Kiddush now by Rabbi, Abayish listen to Rabbi's Kiddush, and if his candle, and should eat something, so that if when he goes home, his candle is out, he'll be yaitz Kiddush now. But if his candle is lit, he doesn't want to be yaitz with Rabbi's Kiddush, and he wants to make Kiddush again when he gets home. So ask Rav Ganachovsky, how does this work? How does this tzlach? What's the tzlach saying? That if it comes out that when Abayi went home, the candle was still lit, that means he ate before Kiddush, because he ate in Rabbi's home on the idea that he might have to go back later and make Kiddush again, whether or not to be candlelit or not. He wasn't sure if it was going to be Kiddush or not. He was in that Tanai mode. But if he gets back home and his lights are still on, so what does that mean? He wants to make Kiddush at home. That means he ate in Rabba's house without Kiddush, because he doesn't want to be guys with Rabbi's Kiddush. So how does that work? As for Rav Ganachovsky, it seems don't tell me that Tanai is like a Shomer, because the Shomer has no shaykhs to Kiddush. You can't say that Tanai is Bibkoim a Shomer. Tanai is like an insurance, or like a Shomer, a safeguard. Because here a Tanai has nothing to do with Shmira. The fact that when I'm going to make Kiddush later has nothing to do with the Shmira, it has to do with halacha of Kiddush. That I want to make Kiddush from Malkum Suda. So he raises a doubt over here of how exactly the lumdus of a Tanai, what exactly is this principle, because you see from this Gemara that's not working as a Shomer. You see that it's just working that it could be Phil Kiddush now or Phil Kiddush later. And if so, he's back to still his suffix, a case of a person who's in doubt, and whether or not he's going to remember to say Sefiras HaOmer later or not. So he counts Sefiras HaOmer now without a bracha ben hashmashos. He goes home, has supper, and then remembers later that he should count Kriya Shema with the bracha. What should he do? If he makes a bracha, comes out that his supper was be'isr. But if he doesn't make a bracha, that comes out he counted without a bracha that night. So these are all for the question, and I invite you to discuss it. And there's another two interesting comments over here about the idea of Sefira, the Derech Avodah, but we'll stop here for time.
Make it more complicated tonight than any meal, like after is it really a meal?